we have wonderful people who help us clean the room here. So one of the things that I appreciated about it is that we have different goals at different times. So sometimes it's about content, sometimes it's about behavior, sometimes it's about engagement. And so there's all kinds of checklists, and so you can kind of choose what you want. And when you told me that you were doing the lab, this is the one that popped out at me that I thought would be good. So that checklist of cooperative learning success factors is the one that I had given you and showed you. And so that is the activity, or that's the idea of what we were going to kind of look at.
Okay.
And if you take a look at it, you understand the learning structure, you created a psychologically safe environment. And when I look at this, I'm going to actually turn it down so we don't have to listen to it. The kids come in, they're clear. It's clear that they're comfortable and that they feel welcome, and that, when they're here. So you've created a space that is welcoming to them. The teacher has written expectations for how students should act, talk, and move while they perform the cooperative learning activity. It's clear that they know what the expectations are. They understand the safety factors in terms of getting those gloves on and off. And I noticed while you were talking, they were asking things like, do we have to, what was they were asking what was in the vials. Yeah. And you were very clear. You were not panicky about it. It was just very calm and clear, and so they were calm and clear in it. But you were very specific about, you need to take those gloves off and you need to go wash your hands. Right. Those are the way that you were able to give those. I feel like that's particularly maybe because of your medical background and knowing how to be calm around people who are kind of hysterical because they're sick or there is a problem,
Right.
That served you really well in terms of this class and how that went. So they know those expectations. They know the appropriate social skills to ensure they interact positively and effectively. When I looked, I didn't see that there was anybody that was left out. And there was one girl who didn't get what she wanted, but you kind of went in there and made sure that she connected with somebody else to get her vial filled. So that wasn't even an issue that came up here. Carefully considered the optimal makeup of each group of students. I didn't see any issues that was a problem, and so I assumed that the way that you've got them seated
is appropriate.
Is it? Yeah. Is that something that you think about?
Well, and it's just one of those things that depending on the class, depends on, what behavior issues do I have? Do we really need to have assigned seating? If somebody's not getting their work done, then obviously you need to be moved. Just stuff that we all take into consideration whenever we're starting the year. Right.
And so I think, we're sort of at the end of the year, and so it's clear that kids have an understanding of where they are and what they're doing. And you've got a lot of freshmen in this crew, don't you?
Majority.
That was brilliant. Have additional activities so that if they finish their tasks before others. I didn't see anybody, not engaged. And so even when they were finished with what they were supposed to do, they were talking about, ooh, are you infected or did you infect me? And so they were still on task in terms of what was going on there. And then you fill up the time all the way from the beginning to the end. And you adjust, you can, it's clear that you can adjust that. I felt like you did a really good job in terms of checking off all of these. Your effective attention signal is your voice, and it's firm, but it's not loud or screamy. There are those who don't get that. And the fact that you're up and that you're moving around the classroom, they follow you, and that is part of the attention. Here, pay attention to me as we're going. So I really enjoyed watching that. And I noticed the other day when I came in, and you had those little strips of paper, and they had to move them around.
Yeah. For the heart, the blood flow through the heart, yeah.
That was really cool.
Well, and it's one of those things that it's something that, we've talked about, and we did the whole heart diagram and all of that, and at the end of it, they still couldn't do it. And so the way that I learn is by actually doing. So I just, typed it up, have them cut it out, and then I'll just randomly, when we're working on something, tell them to freeze and get out their strips, and then I'll tell them I don't always start with inferior, superior. Sometimes I'll say left atrium, and then they have to put it in the correct order.
According to that. Yeah. That's great.
So hopefully it'll help them retain it.
Right. Well, so you and I had talked, you said you're familiar with SMART goals.
Right.
I'd never heard of them until this class. And so, although they are the kinds of things that I do with students every day, but I had not been very specific about it. And after we learned about SMART goals, we learned about peers goals, which is sort of another style of looking at. And so instead of the SMART with the time, and this is powerful, easy, emotionally compelling. Because you know what? If you're not linked emotionally,
they're not going to be either.
They're not going to be either. Reachable, and then student focused. And I think this is the most important out of all of this, that everything that we do is student focused.
Yes.
So when you think about this lesson, are there things that you would do or that would be different, in terms of how you might change that?
Well, you came in on my AM class. So even though I've done this, 4 years, 5 years, it's different every year. Different kids, different scenario, different time crunches, that type of thing. So I started it like this. Whenever you were recording 7th hour, I'm like, that felt like more chaos at the beginning. So I did it differently as far as instructions and, tables went to get their supplies instead of everybody all at once.
Going at once.
So, I mean, usually throughout the day, unfortunately, if you're my morning class, I guess you have kind of my guinea pig, and then in the afternoon I feel like, okay, well, this is what we could do to make this better. Right. So I try to do that as the day goes on.
And so is that something that you might apply whenever you have another type of thing like that, wherever they have to go get supplies? Is that something you might do another time?
Yeah.
So let's just say your goal is going to be class organization in terms of that. So, and this will make a big difference in that it'll limit the chaos.
Yeah, it did make a big difference.
Yeah. So that's a powerful goal. Was it easy?
Yeah.
And simple? It was simple, clear, easy to understand. So one of the things that I've done, because we have to do all of our curriculum writing and all that kind of thing, I've put it out on an Excel spreadsheet. And because I'm teaching new content all the time, I've put like little notes, what didn't work or what didn't, and then I try to go in and check those before. Okay, what was this unit that I have to go in?
Well, and you have to.
Right. So that would be something. This obviously matters a lot to the teacher because it was not chaotic 7th hour, right?
Yeah. Right. It worked out well.
Good. Is it reachable? Is this something that you could do, easily another time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things about the reachable, it identifies a measurable outcome and strategy. So if we were to go in and look at the data, and we look at this, we could measure how long did it take for everybody to get their stuff, and how long did it take them to go back and get engaged. And then if we looked at it separately, did we lose anybody on the way, or did we reach them when we came back? That would be a measurable type of outcome. How long did it take to get them back in and focused in on what it was that you wanted them to do?
Right.
And again, it's student focused because it's specifically about what is going to make this work for them better. Right. In terms of either achievement, their behavior, or attitude outcome. So
I would have to say that with this activity, I've seen them actually work as a unit with this one out of anything that we've done. Because this one, the fluid simulation of fluid, whatever that may be.
A sneeze or a cough or a kiss.
So, I kind of leave it out there because you know how they are, but I don't classify anything. And then that way, they can kind of go with it, just like Anna Garcia. Well, what do you think? As long as you can support it. And if that's what it takes for you to remember this and understand it, then that's what it takes. But I don't have to necessarily say it.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. Good. Well, thank you for letting me come talk to you about this. And I would like to see us do a little bit more of this. As I said before, had I not had Sam those first couple of years to throw things at, she never did come in and watch me teach, but I would ask her questions and and this is all new materials. And coming back to teaching as an older adult has been a different way of interacting. And there are days I'm just so tired.
I understand.
So anyway, I'm gonna. Is this something that you think that if I shared this with our fellow teachers here that they would be open to it?
I think that they would be open to it, especially like whenever I started looking at it when we were going over it. A lot of the stuff we automatically already do, and so I think that it won't be as overwhelming, and they can be like, these are some things that we should work on, and so it only is a few things versus this long list.
Exactly.
So they can kind of like, is this something that I do? Do I feel like I'm pretty confident in it? Then yes, and then they can kind of go from there. I think our staff would be okay with that.
And I like that idea of attaching the emotional aspect to it, and the idea of having areas that are of success that are not necessarily related to how, are you doing this right, or how are their test scores,
right?
You know, or those kinds of things that we get all the time.
Yes,
these are things I can actually do.
Right.
This is recognizable. Yeah.
Well, and surely if you do this, then you have a better outcome anyway.
Right.
So.
Well, and the other thing about this is that we so often we say that it's things that we do all the time, but there might be like one little thing that's missing, and so the idea of being able to go in and quantify things is, I think, gives us more of a. This is our professional. We are professionals trying to improve our
practices.
Yeah, our practices. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.